Okay, good morning everyone. We're going to get started here with our pre-market analysis, but first I do want to point out how well these levels are working. Just again, blowing my mind in the overnight on the sell-off here, selling off right into 98. Again, there's 98, which has been kind of one of those levels that New Urban was basically had a little inside joke with me about. Was 98 was 23 quarter, and now 98 seems to be that level. But really nice bounce right off, nice resistance right off 0350, selling off right into 9550. Not so clean over here, but again sold off right into, I think we had 9050 marked. Again, sold right into that 85. And then once we continued breaking down right off of 75.50 and then right into that 41.80 level that we marked a while back, just as an interesting level, and then sold down and came right just 2 ticks in front of 69 here. So just stuff that kind of blows my mind when I get to the computer in the morning. So let's get started here with the pre-market. And we'll jump to the ultra high time frames as usual, just to see what's going on here. Nothing too important to say from a quarterly perspective right now. Nothing too important to say from the monthly perspective. And then from the weekly, really not much to be set up in here. There's really not enough resolution. We're kind of in a pretty tight range right now, so it's hard to really build any type of bias off of what we're seeing here on the weekly, outside of that bullish indication we got, and we're already pushed from 40.50 to 42.30 or something like that. So we already got 80 points out of that indication. And right now, there's really no clear things that I'm seeing on the weekly. So everything looks pretty strong. No clear signs of reversal just yet on these higher time frames. Outside of that bearish indication we got from 42.30 back on what was the close of this candle was on May 14th. And now on our daily, this is kind of interesting here because yesterday we talked about the bearish indication that we got off of 42.30 here. And so here's the high up that we saw from that May 14th close of the weekly candle where we got the bearish indication. Now over here on June 1st, we got a very clear bearish divergence with a huge doji on the upside there. And so I did say that we could have the potential here for a little bit of a larger correction down. Especially because if you look at the 4-hour, you have the bearish signal up there. You look at the hourly, you had the bearish signal up there. So all of those signals were indicating a potential pullback. Now we did pull back from 42.30 all the way into 41.90 for 40 points. And I did tell everyone that could be all we get out of it. But it looks like in our overnight here, we've really started to sell off. So not too surprising from our perspective. When we jump to our 4-hour, again, there was that bearish indication from 42.30. We got that 40-point sell-off, and I told everyone that could be all we get. But then we did get that bearish signal about 11 a.m. close on yesterday, and sure enough, the sell-off continued from 42.30. We're now down almost 100 points. We've got about 40 points left, and we'll be down 100 points here. Now, currently, on the 4-hour, the only thing that I'm seeing is the potential for a bullish divergence here down at the overnight low. But I think as we dial down, if we don't get that same indication, it's probably not going to be something that we have to pay attention to. But we will keep this in mind that the 4-hour right now, the only thing we're really seeing is this potential bullish indication. We do have to wait until 7 a.m. for that to close, 7 a.m. Pacific. And then from a retracement perspective, we do want to keep in mind we have this very clear leg from the low around 40.55 up to that 42.30 level. And we're just about at the 38% retracement of the whole push up. So still, we could be in bull territory, even pulling all the way back down into the 41.14 to 20 area. With this 61 to 70% retracement and bounce and still be in bullish territory. But right now, looking like we have a little bit of a bullish indication on the 4-hour from the overnight low. We don't see that on the daily at all. And then when we go to our 60-minute, well, we don't see it there. So that's the only time frame giving us a potential bullish indication, which makes me a little bit skeptical of that signal. We jump to our 60-minute. Again, we had that bearish indication around 9-10 a.m. Yesterday, and then from that point, we began the sell-off. The bulls tried to jump in and recover, could not get above that 13 area, and then continued selling off. And I do want to talk about 42.15 because remember yesterday we were looking for a push from, I think the entry was 98 and then push all the way to 14. And 14.25 was where we expected resistance in the market. We actually pushed into 15 and then that was it. So just another interesting level that we were watching that held for the continued sell-off here. And on the 60-minute, from a divergence perspective, it's not really saying anything right now. So we don't have any clear signal on the hourly. We definitely do not have a bullish indication. So we're gonna have to kind of leave it at that for right now. And then again, we do have these interesting levels below us. Right around the 38 retracement, we have these two CPs that could become important. 55.25, not quite sure where that came from on my hourly chart here, but potentially an interesting level. And then the pullback, remember we said yesterday 50% of this whole push brings us right to the bottom of this wick here at 42.50. So just some interesting levels below. Let's jump to our intermediate time frames and see what they're saying here. We'll take a look at our 30-minute. And same thing on the 30-minute here. Really no indication of bullishness here at the moment. There's also no indication of exhaustion on the current push higher. So we could see a stronger push and find resistance at some of the key levels above us. One of those levels being 85, which also is a prediction point this morning. I think if I was to move this, we would see, let me just see real quick. Yeah, so there's that CP right there. So that could potentially be resistance in the market. But what I like is the 41.90 area. You can see we had a lot of support in the market, broke through. We have not been back, and that looks pretty ripe for a test. And if not, up into that 95.50, which aligns with our KP. Now, from a retracement perspective for this specific leg, we get, interestingly enough, 50% of this leg is that 90 area. The 38 also happens to be right where that CP is, and 85 is a level that we've been watching. So some nice confluence on those levels, and then 61 brings us right into that swing low and the KP. So three interesting levels above us here if we start to push. Of course, we could break all of them and continue higher. But these are things we want to keep in mind. And if we do see some clear sell signals at these levels, it's definitely something that will be worth a try. Jumping down to the 10-minute here, nothing really to be said here either. We do have the potential of a bearish signal coming up here if we cannot hold below 78.25. Actually, 83. So if we can't get above 83, there will be a bearish indication on the 10-minute. For whatever that's worth, it's just one time frame. And again, really no other clear indications right now. It's just looking very bearish, and we don't necessarily have strong bull signals from the overnight low. So that's telling me that we're probably not done with the sell-off. But again, anything can happen in the market. I'm just telling you what the signals say right now, and the signals, at least from a 10-minute, a 30-minute, and a 60-minute perspective, do not show a reversal right here at the low. So I'm a little skeptical of that being it on this move down. So we're probably going to want to lean more towards selling into some of these levels rather than looking for buys. We just broke 83 as I talk, so that 10-minute indication no longer there. So now, like I said, we don't really have any indications of exhaustion at the current moment. So we're probably going to push up into some of these levels. And that's kind of where we are for today. Not really a lot, wasn't a very long pre-market analysis, but pretty straightforward. There's really no indications of exhaustion down at the bottom of this push, so we could expect a lower low. And then on the push up here right now, on our intermediate time frames, no indications of exhaustion and the push back up. So what we're looking for here is potentially selling at some of these levels, assuming we have a clear signal, looking for a lower low.